New York City is often described as the capital of the world, a place where dreams are built as high as the skyline itself. Yet beyond its energy, lights, and global importance, New York tells a deeper story. A story written not just in books, but carved in stone, brick, glass, and steel. Its buildings are not simply shelters or lurk places. They are monuments to immigration, resilience, innovation, and ambition. To walk through New York is to walk through the history of America itself. Colonial Dutch houses whisper of the nation's earliest European roots. Gilded Age mansions boast of industrial wealth. Immigrant-built tenements embody hardship and perseverance. And the soaring skyscrapers show America's faith in progress and modernity. From Ellis Island's halls to the shimmering One World Trade Center, New York's architecture is a living museum of the American journey. This essay explores how New York's buildings reflect the nation's past and present. Each era, each brick, each skyline shift tells us not just about New York, but about America. Colonial beginnings, Dutch roots, English expansion. Before America was America, New York was New Amsterdam. Founded by the Dutch in 1624, the city's earliest buildings were wooden houses and warehouses clustered around the southern tip of Manhattan. These modest structures reflected both practicality and trade. Unlike Puritan New England with its churches at the center, Dutch New Amsterdam placed the marketplace and harbor at the heart of urban life. When the English seized the colony in 1664, renaming it New York, new architectural influences appeared. Brick houses in the Georgian style, modeled after London, began to replace earlier Dutch wooden homes. Trinity Church, built 1698, rebuilt in 1846 in Gothic Revival style, symbolized how religion, empire, and architectural tradition were transplanted across the Atlantic. In these early buildings, we see the story of colonial America, a blend of European heritages, adaptation to a new land, and the beginning of a commercial hub that would define the nation's economic destiny, immigration, and the tenement era. The people's architecture. No chapter in New York's architectural story speaks more directly to the American identity than the tenements of the 19th century. Between 1820 and 1920, over 33 million immigrants entered the United States, and a large number settled in New York. Germans, Italians, Irish, Jews, Poles, and others poured into neighborhoods like the Lower East Side. They brought languages, food, traditions, and they needed housing. Developers responded by building 5- and 6-story tenements, cheaply constructed with little light or ventilation. The cramped apartments often housed entire families in 2 or 3 rooms. These buildings were symbols of struggle, but also of survival. They represented both exploitation and opportunity, the pain of poverty and the promise of America. Today, preserved tenement buildings at the Tenement Museum on Orchard Street stand as reminders of the immigrant experience that shaped America's diversity. The tenements tell us that the American dream was not born in luxury, but in crowded, dimly lit rooms where hope still burned. The Gilded Age, mansions and monuments of wealth. As immigrants struggled in tenements, another architectural story unfolded uptown. The Gilded Age, 1870s to 1900s, saw the rise of industrial barons, Rockefeller, Vanderbilt, Carnegie, whose fortunes reshaped the American economy. Their wealth was etched into stone along Fifth Avenue, where palatial mansions borrowed styles from European aristocracy. The architecture of this era, Beaux-Arts, Renaissance Revival, Gothic Revival, expressed power and aspiration. The New York Public Library, 1911, with its grand columns and marble halls, symbolized not just wealth, but also a belief in public enlightenment. Grand Central Terminal, 1913, captured the dynamism of a nation on the move, with trains connecting a rapidly industrializing country. These monumental structures mirrored America's transformation from a rural republic into an industrial superpower. They also reflected tensions, democracy alongside inequality, opportunity alongside excess. The skyscraper revolution. America builds up. If there is one building type that defines America in the world's imagination, it is the skyscraper, and nowhere is its story more visible than New York. The late 19th and early 20th centuries brought steel frame construction and elevators, enabling buildings to rise beyond traditional limits. The Flatiron Building, 1902, triangular and elegant, showed architectural daring. Soon after, the Woolworth Building, 1913, soared 792 feet, earning the title Cathedral of Commerce. Then came the 1930s, the Golden Age of New York skyscrapers. Chrysler Building, 1930, Art Deco masterpiece, symbolizing modernity and automotive progress. Empire State Building, 1931. Once the tallest building in the world, it embodied both American ambition and resilience, completed during the depths of the Great Depression. The skyscraper revolution. America builds up. These skyscrapers were more than real estate. They were statements of faith in the future. They told the world that America would rise, literally, above hardship. The skyline itself became a national symbol, an architectural flag waving in steel and glass. The world at the waterfront, immigration, liberty, and identity. Few buildings capture America's identity as clearly as the Statue of Liberty, 1886, and Ellis Island Immigration Station, 1892 to 1954. The statue, a gift from France, was more than sculpture. It was a promise. For millions of immigrants arriving by ship, Lady Liberty was the first sight of their new homeland. She told a story of freedom and opportunity, an ideal America sought to embody, even if imperfectly. Ellis Island, meanwhile, was the gateway through which over 12 million immigrants passed. Its red brick Renaissance-style halls were both welcoming and intimidating, where dreams began and anxieties deepened. Together, these two landmarks narrate the immigrant foundation of America, a story central not just to New York, but to the nation. Post-war modernism, glass, steel, and the corporate city. After World War II, America emerged as a global superpower, and New York reflected that new role. The city became the headquarters of finance, media, and international diplomacy. Architecture shifted from ornament to modernism, sleek, rational, corporate. The United Nations headquarters, 1952, designed by Le Corbusier and others, symbolized New York's place as a center of world affairs. The Seagram Building, 1958, by Ludwig Mies van der Rohe, introduced minimalist elegance, bronze and glass, rising with quiet authority. This era's architecture spoke of efficiency, progress, and globalization. But it also told another story, the rise of corporate America, where identity and culture were increasingly shaped not by individuals, but by institutions and global networks. Tragedy and renewal, the World Trade Center. No building symbolizes America's trials and resilience more than the World Trade Center. The original Twin Towers, 1973, were controversial at first. Too big, too stark, critics said. But they soon became icons of modern America, symbols of economic power, globalization, and New York's identity as a world city. The attacks of September 11, 2001, which brought the towers down, left an architectural and emotional void. Yet their destruction also became part of America's story. Loss, vulnerability, but also resilience. The new One World Trade Center, 2014, rising 1,776 feet, a symbolic nod to American independence, stands as both memorial and renewal. Beside it, the 9/11 Memorial and Museum ensure that architecture continues to hold memory, grief, and hope. Contemporary New York, diversity in design today. New York's skyline continues to evolve, reflecting the ongoing American story. Super tall residential towers like 432 Park Avenue and 157 symbolize new forms of global wealth and inequality. Meanwhile, projects like the High Line, a transformed elevated railway into a public park, represent urban reinvention, sustainability, and community. Brooklyn's brownstones, Harlem's churches, Chinatown's shopfronts, and Queens mosques all contribute to a diverse architectural fabric. Unlike Paris or Rome, New York never froze in one style. Its buildings are restless, constantly reshaped by migration, technology, and culture. Just like America itself. The meaning of New York's architecture for America. Why do New York's buildings tell the story of America? Because they embody the values and contradictions of the nation. Immigration and diversity. Tenements, Ellis Island. Wealth and power. Fifth Avenue mansions, Wall Street towers. Innovation and ambition. Skyscrapers that pushed the limits of engineering. Struggle and resilience. From Depression-era construction to post-9/11 rebuilding. Global identity. UN headquarters. One World Trade Center. Every era of American history finds a reflection in New York's architecture. The city is not a museum. It is a living narrative. To look at its skyline is to see America's past struggles, present realities, and future hopes. Conclusion. A skyline that speaks. New York's buildings are not just structures. They are symbols. They tell stories of immigrants who built lives in crowded tenements, of magnates who dreamed palaces, of workers who raised steel beams into the sky, and of citizens who mourned and rebuilt after tragedy. To study New York's architecture is to study America itself, its ambition, contradictions, resilience, and ideals. The skyline is a book written in stone and steel, one that continues to gain new chapters. As long as New York rises, so too will the story of America be told upon its skyline. Every building in New York tells a piece of America's story. From Ellis Island to One World Trade Center, which one inspires thee the most? Drop thy answer below and let us keep the conversation alive.